Hi, I'm Beth from Sew Country, and today's tutorial is something I'm terrified to do. I'm actually going to be sewing a spool of thread. Not lying, that's what I'm doing. This video is going to be for the pattern from K.Azcona Designs, all bottled up. But I got one of these cut and sews from K&A Custom Fabrics, and the A part of the K&A is Alex, and she comes up with these crazy ideas, and she told me she was coming up with this idea. We talked about the design. She said, "Do you think it'll work?" I said, "You know what? I'm willing to give it a shot." So this is my attempts at giving this a shot. I have no idea how this is going to work out. I'm very excited. I trust K.Azcona Designs patterns. I trust K&A and their creative ideas. So let's look at what we're doing and let's just talk a little bit about it. So this is one of the cut and sews. I want to show you how it comes. I'm going to try to get it all in frame, but you may not be able to see all of it. So the exterior is all vinyl. It is not like it's a cross between a smooth and a textured vinyl. It's matte, but it has like a little bit of a feel to it. I really love the way it feels. It's not slick. It just feels good. It just feels good. So what I'll do is I'll have to cut out each of these shapes. I'm going to have the two exterior pieces. I'll have the gussets, the D-rings. Then I also have the lining. So this is going to be the lining. It's going to be a waterproof canvas, and you can see the theme on this round from K&A is all sewing themed, and I love it. So I'm excited to try it, but I'm nervous. So let's see if I can pull off sewing a spool of thread. I have everything cut out, and we're going to go through the pieces really quickly. The first thing I want to talk about are the two D-rings. I have decided that I'm not using this as a purse. I'm actually going to make this and use it as a wall hanging. So I will not be using the D-rings because I'm going to add two grommets here. Could possibly do some riveted snaps if I wanted to, some riveted D-rings. But what I'm thinking about doing is going ahead and getting rid of these. So I wanted to show them to you and explain that you would, if you're using them to make this as a purse, draw a line down the middle, fold the raw edges in the middle. These would then be sewn down both of those long edges, top stitch down both sides to finish it, added your D-ring on there. And then you would put this in with the zipper when we're making the zipper gusset. I'll try to remember to tell you where you would put it, but since I'm not using these, I'm going to set mine aside. I'll just do grommets at the top so I can hang this in my sewing room. I'm going to hang it as a decoration, but I'm also going to make it functional, and I will end up storing my little zipper tab pieces. Whenever I have leftover pieces of vinyl, I always just cut them and keep them for whenever I want to do a zipper tab. I'll just grab it and put it on. I was using a specific pouch for that, but I decided to repurpose that pouch, so I have been needing to do something else. So that is what I will be using this for, so I'm not making a strap either in this video. The next pieces we'll have is our two lining oval pieces. These are our two main pieces for the interior. Mine will be out of waterproof canvas, no interfacing at all. This is part of our main piece. This is what we're going to attach to the gusset, and so this will be seen from the exterior, so it is considered an exterior piece, but it'll be on the back side. So for this is going to be the main exterior, that main front piece, but then you will have this attached, so it'll be completely finished, and our gusset will be here and the back part will be in here in this part. Little interesting design, I know. It's going to be fun to get my head around this, definitely. So these are those two main pieces. You do cut out that interior portion here. For the front main pieces, it's going to be these two pieces. I did decide to add a tag onto mine. I went ahead and stitched around that off camera before I got started. This is the only place where I added any interfacing. I added Decaville Heavy, and while I was doing this, I thought, you know what, you really should have just kept yours in the seam allowance because it wouldn't have mattered so much, especially since I'm using this as a wall hanging. I really probably should have just let the Decaville Heavy in the seams, but I went ahead and kept it out. It'll be fine. If you're using it at a purse, it's probably not going to matter either way. Probably if I did another one, I'd probably just keep the Decaville Heavy in it. I'm actually already ordered 2 different designs for this, so I already know I'm going to be sewing more of these. So I probably will try around to leave the Decaville Heavy in the seams to see how I like that. So those are those main pieces. The only other things we're going to need is everything for our zipper gusset. So I have my zipper tape with the pull already attached. I cut it, of course, to the pattern measurements. I have 2 exterior zipper gusset or zipper panel pieces. Mine are out of vinyl. I have nothing on the back of these. Waterproof canvas for the lining, again, nothing on them. Same for that bottom gusset piece that goes around the bottom of the bag. Definitely, if you wanted more structure, you could add more structure to this. I'm kind of always keep it simple with zipper gussets. If it's vinyl, I rarely will add more interfacing unless it's at a part where I feel like it'll be very noticeable. This one, I do not feel like it will be. That's all I need to get started. The first things we're going to work on with this bag is we're going to work on that zipper gusset. It's not really different, but there's a lot of different pieces that I'm not used to. So it's not my traditional zipper gusset. Usually when I get started with a bag, I do that zipper gusset first. I always say, oh, basic zipper gusset. This isn't your basic zipper gusset. First thing you want to do is you want to go on the back and use the pattern measurements. And I'm doing this on the back because I do not use double-sided tape. The pattern gives you a little bit different of a way to do this if you do use double-sided tape. But on the back of mine, each one of these, I drew a line on both short sides of both the exterior and lining pieces. First thing I'll do is I'll take one of my exterior panels. I'll take my zipper. I want it closing to the left as I always do. I'm going to place that zipper right sides together with that exterior piece. I'm going to go ahead and add a few clips all along this top raw edge. That is the edge we're working on first. Next, I will take this lining zipper gusset or zipper panel, I can't remember what she calls it, piece, and place it right sides down onto this zipper I have. So my lining will be right sides together with the wrong side of the zipper, but it will be right sides together with that exterior gusset piece. Clip this all in place as well. You may need to add extra clips here. Like I said, the pattern tells you to use double-sided tape on this. I never use double-sided tape unless it's just an absolute necessity, but feel free to use whatever makes it a more enjoyable sew for you. I did choose to leave the zipper pull on with this. Usually when I make a gusset, I don't. But with this one, I decided to go ahead just because the construction is a little unique. So while I'm sewing this, I will have to move my zipper pull out of the way whenever I'm going to be sewing over that spot. Okay, now that I have everything matched up, what you do is you sew in between those 2 lines you drew. So you only sew from one side. You put your needle down right there where that line is and sew all the way down to the other side. You do not sew past those lines you drew, so they will be unattached. So I'm going to go ahead and sew this with the seam allowance given the pattern, making sure that I backstitch when I start and stop, and also whenever I move that zipper pull whenever I get close to it. So I have this sewn and you can see those ends are unattached. Typically what I would do at this point is I would pull these apart and top stitch, but you're not going to. So what you can do, what the pattern tells you is a good thing to do, is just to kind of clip these out of the way so they're staying out of the way, so you can go ahead and sew the other side of the zipper that same way you just sewed this one. So I'm going to go off camera and sew the other side of the zipper panels the same way I did, keeping this side clipped out of the way, but we will not be stitching on this just yet. We will do that step later. So go ahead now and attach these other 2 panels the same way to this side of the zipper. So I have both sides attached. I have them both clipped, exterior and the linings together. at the ends we do have that opening still. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this exterior piece of that bottom gusset, place it right sides together, and we're just going to clip the exterior pieces together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to the back. I'm going to fold that lining completely out of the way. I'm going to put a clip there so it's completely not going to be involved in this step. Mine may not stay perfectly. Let me try to get it this way. I'm not even gonna worry about it. Forget it. I'm kind of simple with all that stuff, so it's just gonna have to be moved while I'm sewing. So what I'm going to do though is I'm going to clip these exterior pieces together, and you can see I'm going to have the zipper tape being sewn through on this step, but none of the lining. Whenever we come back and do the lining portion, we will not be sewing over the zipper there. It'll be different. We'll be jumping over the zipper, but for the exterior, we do sew over the zipper. Really kind of unique way to do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push that down while I'm sewing, have my zipper tape laying flat. Let me hold this up so you maybe see it better. And I will sew with the same lines given the pattern from this side all the way down to this side. Just make sure no lining's involved. I'm going to do that on this short end. Then I will come around and do it on this other short end the exact same way. Pulling that down, matching up these two sides of the bottom gusset and the zipper panel, and I will sew over the zipper tape as well. It looks like it's not even, but it's just the way I'm holding it because I have it kind of pushed together with the zipper teeth. But let's do the exterior portion only of sewing here. Now that we have the exterior sewn together, it's time to add that lining piece. So we are going to do it basically in the same way, except we will do two separate sets of stitching. I'm going to take that lining piece and clip it right sides together. I'm going to pull back the exterior and get in there. It's going to be a little bit top fit, but it's okay, you can do it. And I'm going to stick it under my needle. Let's push that back and get that same seam allowance, but just on the lining. So I'm not going to speed this section up just to show you, but I'll do my back stitching first and then go up to that first zipper lining panel piece and sew to it only. So I'm just sewing this little piece right here. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side of it. And you're going to be sewing right up against your exterior piece, just not going over it. Now, if you sew this from the back, it could be a little bit easier. And so if you wanted to sew it from the back, if you didn't like sewing it from the front, what you could even do is you can mark a line to where the zipper is to make sure you don't sew over it and have it pull back like this. But for me, it was easier to sew it this way. But that is how it looks from the back. This is how it looks from the front. You can see they're still not attached. I'm going to do that same thing on the other side here, attaching that lining the same way, and then we will be going on and finally getting to top stitch around this. Also, quick note, I did forget, but you would put your D-rings right here. That is where you would have slipped your D-rings in before you sewed the exterior piece here. So this is currently what I have for my gusset. I have finished sewing everything together. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and flip it. And so this is what we're looking at. What I want to do, what the pattern tells us to do, and I'm going to have to trim. I have a little bit of overhang, which is very common for me because I sew a certain way and I almost always have overhang. It's okay. But what we're going to do on this is a little bit different of a top stitch, is I'm going to have the lining against the bed of my machine. I'm going to start top stitching right here and go 1/8 of an inch away all the way down. Now I'm going to make sure I'm pulling these pieces apart so that it's an even amount. You can see how it's kind of wobbly here. I'll make sure I pull those tight while I'm sewing over it. I didn't want to put the plastic clips in here because I was afraid it would leave the indentions on this vinyl, so that's why I have these, but they don't hold as well, so it looks a little wobbly now, but I will make sure that I don't sew over it that way so that I get a nice finish. But again, start here, go all the way down 1/8 of an inch. And then I'll start here, and then you may have a D-ring here. If you have your D-ring here, that's even a better way to kind of know it. But what I'll do is I will stitch until I go down onto this bottom gusset piece. So go down and then stitch over and come back up this other side and then stitch over again. So we're stitching on both sides of this zipper panel, but also the bottom gusset for that short distance. So kind of if you have a D-ring here, you're anchoring it in place and giving yourself just a little bit more security there. So let's go ahead and do this top stitching. I'm going to go ahead and get these clips out of the way because they will just annoy me while sewing. I'm going to slide this under my needle, and I will go slow on this step, so I'll be speeding it up for you guys because I want to really pull my materials away from it, the zipper, and make sure I get a really nice stitch all around this gusset. So now that we've got our gusset completed, if you have any overhang like I do, go ahead and trim that up now. So we want it all the same width. And then what you're going to do is you're going to mark the top and the bottom of your gusset by matching up those seams at the top and the bottom. And you're also going to transfer all the pattern markings. If you haven't already, make sure you transfer them to your lining pieces and also this piece. So we're going to be working with attaching these pieces next, and this pattern's coming together so quick. So while off camera, I trimmed up my gusset and made my marks on everything. So for this piece, we're attaching this to the gusset. You can transfer the marks over from your pattern piece and do it that way and have everything organized even before you start sewing. I went ahead and attached or just clipped one piece of this to the gusset just so I can kind of get my head around to how to do it and everything to be able to help give some tips. So this is what it looks like. I'm going to show you how to do it with this one, but I kind of wanted to show you this part first so you can see it is not clipped at all to that exterior. It is right sides together clipped and clipped all the way around there. So let me show you how we do that with this other side. It was a little tricky for me getting it just in there. So what I did was I just flipped that zipper piece for the exterior back so that I could have my lining completely open and exposed. This part you can just even kind of get out of the way there. You can make the marks on the gusset for the center and the quarter marks, and then all you do once you have those marks made, you take this lining piece and your gusset piece and you're going to match up the marks and start clipping all the way around. So once you have it all the way clipped around, it will look like this. And I did it this way just because where I haven't made this before, I wanted to make sure I could kind of check it out, make sure it fit, and do it all that way and kind of play around with it. It did fit really well. I had no problems with it fitting. I was just worrying unnecessarily. Now I need to sew around this. So again, I think for me it's going to be best to flip that back again, and then I'm going to sew around with the seam allowance given in the pattern, but it's just going to be my basic sew. I'm just going to put this against the bed of my machine with the gusset against the bed of the machine. That's how I'm doing it. You could do it this way if you wanted, but I'm doing it this way. I'm going to slide it under, and then I'm just going to sew around with that seam allowance given in the pattern all the way around this gusset part. So I will speed this up, But just know that I'm going about this speed all the way around here. When I get to the curves, I'll even go a little bit slower. When I come up to that curve, I'm going to use my finger. You could use hemostat, stiletto, whatever you want. And I'm going to kind of make sure I hold those two pieces together. And then I'll slowly be turning and rotating this. It'll kind of flip up a little bit when you're going around that curve because you don't want to lose that seam allowance. And this is a part I definitely go slow with. I'll use my finger to make sure that I'm getting any bunching that the gusset may be doing on the other side out of the way. I don't want to sew over any like puckers or pleats in this bag. Even though it would be on the inside, I still just want to take my time to make sure I do everything correctly. This is how it looks from the wrong side. From the inside, you can peek in there and see it. It looks great. I'm very pleased with it. I did sew over a small pucker. I just had some extra material and I said, you know what, it's going to be okay. And it is. It does happen and it doesn't stress me out horribly bad, especially when it's on the inside. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew that same way with this other piece. The beauty of this pattern, you don't need to leave an opening because of the way she has designed it. Super cool, unique way to sew a bag together. I don't know how her mind comes up with this, and then for K&A to come up with making it into a spool of thread, it just goes to show I will never be a pattern designer. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this last lining piece and just place it right sides together, matching up on all my markings, clipping around and sewing it that exact same way. The best way for me really is to have the gusset against the bed of machine and have this exterior flipped out of the way. So I will repeat those steps off camera and then we'll come back to do the next. We already have that interior done. It looks great. Super cute, super cute. So now we have this. It is time for us to add these pieces here. So what you can do is you can use your pattern to go ahead and make your marks on these pieces and on your gusset. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take this and you're just going to put it on here and fit it in. And so it'll be right sides together. Super, super cool. She's very smart with these designs. So what she tells us to do is she says to mark our, go ahead and clip our top and bottom centers first, then our side marks, and then clip the rest of the way around. She also says this may be a good place if you want to do some stapling. I don't do stapling, so probably what I'm going to do is I'm going to go off camera and clip everything, and then I may use some glue around these curves here. I will tell you if I do. It always depends on when I use glue as to how well the gusset's fitting. If the gusset fits really good, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to have any slipping or pulling, I don't worry about it. But this, with this design, I am thinking I will because it's a unique shape and I feel like if I lose any of the curve here, it's going to totally affect the shape. So right now I'm leaning that I will add a little bit of glue in these corners, but I will come back after I clip it, we'll talk about it, and then we'll sew it up and I'll let you know if I did decide to use the glue on this. So I went ahead and clipped the piece like this all the way around that exterior. I will go ahead and admit to you that the first time I did it, when I looked, it looked so crooked and uneven. I took it apart, made sure I did a better job matching up those marks and everything, and it looks much better. So I do recommend, after you're getting it clipped, kind of looking at it to make sure yours looks even and straight and all that. I also went ahead and used this glue, not just at the curves, I used the glue all the way around. I just felt like I was going to be too much at risk for things shifting and moving if I didn't. So I pretty much glued everything. You could hand baste, you can use the staples, whatever you feels best, go ahead and do that. But I did choose to glue. Now what we're going to do is we're going to sew all the way around this clipped area, the two raw edges. Keep your lining out of the way. You can see it's completely unattached. And you're just going to sew that with the seam allowance given in the pattern to make sure that everything is getting attached and connected. We're going to do that with this side, then we're going to repeat that same process with this side. So I'm going to show you the sewing of this piece, and the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to do it again with that, I guess I'm going to say the gusset part against the bed of my machine. So that is the way I'm going to do it, and then I will do the other section off camera. Since mine is glued, I really don't even need the clips, but I'm still going to keep the clips on, and just whenever I get close to the next one, take it off slowly and be easy. I'm going to make sure still, if I do see any slipping, even though I glued, I will grab my hemostats, and I'm just going to go slow on that part. Whenever I'm coming to this curve, I'm going to start kind of rotating it up and smoothing out. This gusset piece you can, or this exterior piece, you can see it's kind of going to be mushed. I don't care if it's mushed as long as I don't sew over any like bumps or puckers. So I know it's going to be kind of bunching up, but as long as you feel and make sure it's smooth where you're sewing, you're fine then. So just shift the pieces around and make sure you're sewing over a smooth area. Okay, got that sewed. I have a little pucker here in the corner. I'm going to fix that. I do believe everything else looks great, but you can see right here, see how I accidentally got that? So I'm just going to take my scissors in here, my snips, and just clip that thread. Smooth that out, and then I will sew that section again. And I did a good job on most of them, just that one section I didn't. It's okay, it happened. So I will just fix this, making sure that I pull and smooth out and don't sew over any bumps. Okay, I got that fixed there. You can see I got it smoothed out. I would say that this step is definitely your hardest step. So don't rush this. Take the time, because the corners especially, you can, if you aren't careful, you can get a pucker there. Just go slow. I do recommend the gluing, but you can definitely do tape or use hemostats, staples, hand basing. Any of those suggestions there would work. So this section is done. This is how it looks. It's looking great. I mean, honestly, it is. Considering what we're doing, this is awesome. So now we're going to do that same steps for this piece. So I will attach it to this raw edge of the exterior by slipping it down. Of course, I'm going to take time to match up those marks and everything. I'm just showing you how it will fit on there. I'm going to match it up. I'll also have this as a guide for the exterior to make sure everything's being orientate the correct way, not shifting too much. I'm going to glue again, I'm going to sew around again, and then we will come back and just do the final steps. This will be the easier part compared to what we're doing now. This won't be that hard. So let's go ahead and get ready. I'm really getting way more excited about this than I thought I would, because I was so scared that it would look horrible. And now I see it's actually going to look super cute. So let's see it finished. I went ahead and attached both of these pieces. Everything looks great. I'm getting so excited about how this bag is going to look. I will be honest and say I debated even making this video, because I thought, oh gosh, it's going to turn out just horrible, but it's such a good design. It's such a good concept. So now what you do is you take one of these exterior main pieces and you just flop it down right on top. You're going to match up all these raw edges. I'm going to choose to use these better holding clips at the risk of leaving some indentation in the vinyl. I know it'll go away, but I just hate to even do it at all. But you're going to just match up all around here. This part should not be as hard as the other steps, because we have the room to get in there and sew this easily. You're going to have it a flat. It's going to be kind of against the bed machine, that back, and so it's just going to be a flat sew. Only thing you'll want to do is make sure you have your bobbin to match, because both sides of this will be seen from the outside. I need to push this over just a little. It'll take maybe a little bit of time to make sure everything matches up perfectly. And in the pattern, she tells you after you sew this together, you can trim up any of the raw edges that don't look neat, and also you can edge coat. And know that she recommends Mojo Sews, and I definitely want to do a video on edge painting because I'm trying to learn it too. That is something I want to get better at this year. Okay, I can see I'm having a little bit of pucker there. So what I want to do is I want to stretch that out, and then that will get taken to the bottom. If you have any extra, it'll go to the bottom so it can be trimmed off. You wouldn't want to leave it on the side there. Okay, that looks good. You can see that little bit of extra there, that overhang I will trim off. So now we have this, and I'm going to straighten it out, and then I'm going to put it against the bed of my machine, and I'm just going to sew all around with the seam allowance given the pattern. While I'm sewing, I'm going to be using my hand to make sure everything's staying flat. I'm okay if I have extra that I will need to trim off at the end, but I wouldn't be okay if I left like extra inside. So I will pull it all out, smooth it down, and then sew over it. I'm going to sew all the way around this. We are not leaving an opening. There's no need. We're done. This is just more of a decoration. So we're going to stitch all the way around here. Then I'm going to come back with this other piece and attach it the same way. Since this one does have a tag and it is a directional print, you want to make for sure you have them both going the same way. You're going to clip that one around the exact same way and then sew it as well. Then we're done. I'm going to put grommets on mine, but if you're using yours as a bag, you would have your D-rings right there to carry this. And guys, this is going to be such a cute little bag or wall decoration, whatever you want to use it for. Even just to kind of stand up in your room. It's beautiful. So let's finish sewing this. I will sew this piece on camera, but on this other one, I will do it off camera and we'll come back to look at it when it's all done. Okay, so it's under my machine. I'm pushing everything down. I don't care to smash everything. I'm not worried about that. I can straighten it up later. I just want to make for sure that everything is nice and flat while I'm sewing it, so everything is sewn together the right way. You could pull your threads back here, but I'm just going to do one back stitch. I think I'll be fine. I definitely will have to do some trimming up. I can see that for sure. And while I'm sewing this, I'm realizing I have no idea if my bobbin has enough in it to be able to top stitch all around here. That was a mistake on mine. Before you do this top stitching, I do recommend you check your bobbin. Pushing down, making sure everything is flat. I'm actually applying pressure. I want to make sure there's no, like when I turn it over, I'm not going to have like bubbles or ripples. I want everything smashed together as close as possible. I think on this one, I honestly would recommend either a beige or silver thread. I'm using a black in my top and then a beige in my bottom, and I think I would have preferred not to use that black at all. Okay, here it is from this side. Oh my gosh, look at that. It looks great. I love it. I'm really, really loving this. Okay, so let's go ahead and go off camera. I'm going to attach this other one the same way, and then we'll come back and talk about everything and see how it looks. I seriously cannot get over how cute this is. So this is the K.Azcona Designs pattern all bottled up, and this is a cut and sew design from K&A Custom Fabrics. Now the pattern, you will have to purchase it from K.Azcona Designs. I'll have the link in my description. The cut and sew comes from a pre-order that is going on now from K&A Custom Fabrics. I'll have that link listed below. So it's two separate places where you could get this. You have to show K&A the proof that you purchased the pattern before they will sell this. But this is the front, or what I'm going to consider the front. And here is my back with my tag on it. This is Good Things Take Time, which is perfect. The tag comes from Heartwood and Hyde, and I think it's perfect for this bag because this one, although it really didn't take a lot of time, it put in a little bit of effort. And this is adorable. This is a very unique thing to sew. And you're not going to see this anywhere else. We can open it up here on the inside. It's completely finished. It has a great shape and it can hold a lot of things in there. I'm sure a cell phone will fit depending on what size you have and the case you have with it. It's a cute bag. Kids would love this. I am not going to use it as a bag, like I said. This will be used as a decoration. I will be hanging this on my wall here in the sewing room, and I will use it for storage. I will probably, now that I like it and have seen it, I do not want to add grommets. I'm probably going to add 2 of those riveted D-rings here on the back because they will be smaller and less noticeable, and I think they'll just look better. So that is what I'm going to do with mine. Definitely could use it as a crossbody as the pattern attends. This is just adorable. It's a fun sew and you just feel proud of yourself when you've completed it. So thank you for watching another one of my tutorials today. I'm probably going to be doing more of these because I already ordered 2 different cut and sew versions. It won't be another spool of thread, but K&A is already designing different ways to make this pattern, so the next one wouldn't be a spool of thread, but I've already ordered 2 different ones, so I'll probably do those 2 just because they're fun and I just want you to see them, and it's just fun to create something different occasionally. Definitely check this out, and if not, if this isn't for you, I still hope you have a great day sewing something very unique, very creative, and just fun in your sewing room today. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.